Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences welcomes you to the Wisconsin Gold and Silver Circle Honors Ceremony. We're about to celebrate those who have made significant contributions to Wisconsin television, in front of the camera and behind the scenes. Here's a sneak peek at our honorees. In his 34 years at WBAY, pioneering Green Bay reporter Jerry Burke helped create the market's first Fox Valley News Bureau. 47 years later, he still gets recognized by people who say, "Hey, it's Jerry Burke, live in the Valley." WDJT News Director Jessie Garcia is a Wisconsin trailblazer. From being Milwaukee's first female sports director in 1994, to news management, to journalism instructor at multiple colleges, Garcia inspires countless young women in broadcasting. WISN chief photojournalist Jason Hunter has delivered Emmy Award-winning excellence from behind the camera for more than 3 decades. He creates memories of important news stories with his signature images, creative editing, and innovative field production. Television newsrooms are filled with a new generation of experts because of UW-Madison's Pat Hastings. After a newscast producing career that included stops in Green Bay and Milwaukee, Hastings spent 32 years teaching broadcast journalism, retiring with the title of Distinguished Teaching Professor. Paul Rudolph has been making magic happen on Milwaukee TV for 40 years. As operations manager for Sinclair's WVTV and WCGV, Rudolph oversees 4 markets and 6 networks, sometimes having to produce 3 different live local sporting events in 3 different markets at the same time. Susan Kim has covered some of Southeast Wisconsin's biggest stories in her 30-year tenure at WTMJ. Her easygoing style on the anchor desk comforts viewers, but it's her heart that shines through, volunteering for community groups and helping launch the TMJ4 Community Baby Shower in 2001. WITI Assistant News Director Brian Graham has filled many roles in Milwaukee TV. He's been sports producer, sports executive producer, news producer, morning executive producer, news operation manager, and content manager. Graham gets stuff done, and he's been getting it done for 32 years. Raul Galvan got stuff done at Milwaukee PBS and television-related industries for 48 years. He started in 1975, working on the station's first Spanish-language series. As manager of program production, his department produced programs that won numerous awards, including Chicago Regional Emmys. We will also honor the late Sean O'Flaherty with a Gold Circle. O'Flaherty held virtually every role at WTMJ for 53 years. First as a reporter, then photojournalist, producer, editor, and eventually news operation manager. In 2021, Milwaukee's mayor declared June 5th Sean O'Flaherty Day to mark O'Flaherty's 50th work anniversary. Now it's time to honor the best of the best. Please welcome the president of the Chicago Midwest chapter, John Shipman.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Wisconsin Silver Circle Awards. It's an amazing turnout today. It's great to see so many people supporting these honorees, whether a family member, a friend, or a colleague. There's so many people involved in producing this event. We all know about producing, and it doesn't take just one person. There's a lot of people involved. But definitely wanted to recognize a couple people. Thanks to Mark Zaromsky, who spoke earlier. He's the executive producer of today's event and the board chair of the Wisconsin Silver Circle Committee. And also Rebecca Cowing, who is in the back by the door. She doesn't like to be recognized that often, but she's our executive director. So thanks to both them and all the volunteers for all their hard work today. These events are really important to our chapter, and we have so much going on throughout the year. So we invite everyone to get involved with the many workshops we offer, along with the annual Emmy Awards at the end of the year, and most importantly, becoming a member of the chapter. Please take a look inside your program sometime today for more information about becoming a member. And while you're looking at the program, check out page 21. We're very proud as a chapter to offer several scholarships to college and high school students. We've awarded more than $680,000 in scholarships and offer up to $36,000 each year. It's support from our members and this group that we're able to continue to do this year after year. So we thank you and also ask for your contribution at the same time. So let's get to today. Why are we here? We're really excited for today's honorees. You'll recognize their names because they've dedicated 25 years, and in one case, 50 years, to the television and media industry, and have made remarkable contributions to local broadcasting. When planning an event like this, you look for someone who's qualified to MC and introduce all of our honorees. We have found just the right person for 2025. He's a 2014 Silver Circle inductee and has been on air for 42 years, the last 29 years at CBS 58. He's covered presidential elections, has interviewed the candidates, reported on the world champion Green Bay Packers, traveled to Cuba, and for more than a decade was the MC for the Jerry Lewis Telethon. Born and bred in Wisconsin, following graduation from University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, he launched his career in La Crosse and also spent time in Green Bay before settling down here in Milwaukee. It is my pleasure to introduce your MC for today's event. Please welcome Mark Strelo.
John, thank you, and thank you, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be here to celebrate the achievements of 9 exceptional honorees. The Silver Circle class of 2025, Wisconsin's 15th and largest ever class of inductees. Many thanks again to Mark Zaromsky, who minutes after last year's Silver Circle tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Mike, would you like to MC next year's ceremony?" Honestly, my heart began to race, much like it did during my first ever live shot 40 years ago. Reporters, you remember that first live shot, right? And you never forget that first live shot without mix minus, you know? When you hear yourself in your ear a second later, that can be a nightmare. Well, Mark told me, hey, take some time, think about it. I didn't have to. Of course I would. Because even though I knew I'd be standing before some of the best here in Wisconsin television, we're talking about Murrow, Emmy, Peabody, Press Club, WBA Silver Circle Award winners. No pressure, right? I remember what my dad, who presented me during this event 10 years ago, told me. Always say yes to new opportunities, and I'm so glad I did. What a tremendous privilege it is to be here today. Surrounded by colleagues, competitors, managers, mentors, and mentees, I feel an amazing sense of gratitude to share in this silver and gold celebration of deserving honorees. We'll meet our first inductee in just a few minutes, but first, let's acknowledge the existing Wisconsin Silver Circle members who are here with us today. Could you please stand and remain standing when I call your name? And audience, please hold your applause until all of the members have been acknowledged. Kent Aschenbrenner, Charles Benson, Nick Bohr, Denise Calloway, Liddy Collins, Sean Downs, Marianne Lazarski, Mickey Leach, Tony Lucas, Everett Marshburn, Dave Machuda, Mike Miller, Dwight Moss, Dan Needles, Ted Perry, Renee Raffelli, Gary Reistad, who once again this year is up in the production booth, Rick Rietbrock, Glenn Riley, Myra Sanchek, John Stofflet, Susan Valavic, Tim Van Vorn, Joanne Williams, Jim Wilson, who again this year is mentoring the handheld camera operator, Tom Zalaski, Mark Zaromsky, and me, proud member of the class of 2014. Thank you for being here to welcome our new honorees into the circle. It's like a reunion, isn't it? It really is. I love this event. Time now to learn more about our class of 2025. It is a full circle moment for me introducing our first honoree. One of my first mentors, Jerry Burke. I had the privilege of working with Jerry for 2 of his 34 years at WBAY-TV, a celebrated career mostly spent as chief of the Fox Valley News Bureau. I grew up watching Jerry on TV, and after eventually getting past that first wow celebrity moment, my first day on the job back in 1985, I began to learn the importance of community connections made through firm but fair reporting, kindness, and compassion. Just like so many others who over the decades were lucky enough to call Jerry a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. Let's hear from some of them about a career broadcast journalist, veteran, volunteer, community ambassador, and author, the King of the Valley, Jerry Burke.
No one knows the Valley like Jerry Burke. No one.
Jerry owned the Valley. I mean, not only we think of him as news, obviously, and EAA, but he knew everything about sports too, and he'd tip you off about stories and things, and everybody knew Jerry. And he was kind of like the Valley's version of Chuck. They worked together so well and complemented one another so well.
Well, Chuck, if I were a betting man, and you know it very well that I'm not.
I was intimidated by Jerry Burke. Just the thought of who he was and the legacy that he already had in the Fox Valley, Northeast Wisconsin. When I actually met Jerry, just the nicest guy. He was like, let me know what I can do for you. Let me know, if you need any help with anything. He was there to help you and to help you become the best reporter that you could be.
So I was a competitor and knew Jerry at WBAY, and we'd be in the newsroom across town and watching what all the stations had. And of course, I'm going to tell you, Jerry Burke was often leading the newscast at Channel 2. And so as a competitor, you're always watching.
Well, one time we're coming back from a state softball tournament, I think it was, and we literally had seconds to get this thing on us. We pulled into there, he's all set, ready to go. We edit the thing up and stand by a cue. We literally did it live from the Valley Bureau down there in Oshkosh at the time. And he pulled out, I was like, whew, Jerry, thank goodness you're here. We got it on the air. And he walked down there, everything was cool. That was just, he was happy. He was as happy as I was. We got the highlights on the air.
I mean, Jerry was the guy, right, in the Fox Valley. He was the reporter. He had so many sources.
Does this really look like it's the work of the same person, same MO type of thing?
In my mind, right at this moment, I would say that that's pretty definite.
Jerry did have the best resources, the best sources. As mentioned, he knew police officers, he knew attorneys, he knew lawyers. But what's most important with Jerry, he talked to their families, people affected by the news that he was reporting. And Jerry did it in such a respectful way that many of those families that he interviewed at sometimes the worst times in their lives trusted him.
He knew the entire Valley. He owned EAA, and he loved EAA.
There you go, a touchdown at 6:10:10 is the touchdown time at Whitman Field.
10 minutes after 6 and 10 seconds. I checked my watch.
Boy, what a beautiful play. Listen to this thing.
EAA, of course, his baby. Nobody does it better, and nobody did it better than Jerry at EAA. And he loved it, and you could see it. You could see in his reporting that he loved it. He loved to talk to people about aviation. It was his dream.
He was a fixture, and I think viewers come to trust him. Co-workers, we are so fortunate to have him.
Jerry was just one of the guys. He just never worked with a camera and a microphone in his hand, but he was just so down to earth. And you see that in his whole family and how his love of dogs.
He's such a gem, just a treasure. I was a young journalist looking at Jerry and saying, oh, that's how you do it. Oh, that's a question. I wouldn't have thought to ask that. And so I think he made everyone around him better.
He never put being a journalist first. He was always a human. He always cared about you first.
He understood that there's more to this business than doing stand-ups and reading from a teleprompter. You've got to be ingrained in the community, be a part of the community. And that's what Jerry was. That's why he was so successful. People trusted him. More than anything else, people trusted Jerry Burke.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Jerry Burke.
pretend it's my dog and stay. First of all, a huge tip of the cap to WBAY's chief photographer, Will Sentowski, for his amazing talents in putting that video together. I also want to acknowledge my family and friends for being here to help me commemorate this event. One has to admit, it's pretty humbling to be recognized here along with the pros like Raul, Brian, Jesse, Pat, Susan, Sean, and Paul. If I could, I'd like to take you back now to Saturday, October 5th of last year. We're 1 month away from the presidential elections. And on that particular morning, the most important thing in our household is how's my wife doing, because the day before she had serious back surgery. Saturday morning, 8:30, the phone rings, and it jars me. Something's happened to Mary. Look to the caller ID, it says unavailable. Is it a political call? So I came within a whisker of not answering it, but what if it is about Mary? So I picked up the phone, and this individual says, "Hi, Jerry, my name is Mark Zoronsky, and I'm calling on behalf of the Silver Circle." When I realized the call wasn't about Mary, I'm about to interrupt this guy and tell him, "Hey, we're not interested in some dude ranch." When he said, "Tom Zalaski gave me your number." Tom is a longtime friend and a former colleague. So now my mind shifted to what Mark had to say, which was, you are going to be receiving the Silver Circle Award, which is the Emmy equivalent of a lifetime achievement. Talk about being caught completely off guard. Heck, I've been retired for 17 years. During my reporting career, I did receive awards, but each one did and still to this day make me uncomfortable because they typically involved a deadly tragedy. And each story I ever did involving a tragedy, I always approach with, how would I feel in someone's given situation? And I got that from my grandmother, Nana. When WBAY hired me, Nana pulled me into her house, sat my in a chair, and she looked at me and she says, "I don't want you becoming one of those self-important reporters." She said, "Just because you're on TV does not make you special." And then she added a perspective. Tomorrow morning, if the garbage man doesn't show up to pick up my garbage, who's more important, you or the garbage man? I never forgot that. Through the years, it's been a privilege in all of the stories that I did, and especially the tough ones, that to this day I can call many of the parents and relatives from those stories friends. For me, those stories were never one and done. I always tried to make it a point to get to know those who were left behind, especially the parents who lost a child. As Nana wisely advised me, get to know those people so you can appreciate what they are going through. And I like to think that served me well and added an element of compassion in the stories that I wrote. My colleagues will attest, I lost it on the air several times. And when those happened, the first thing out of my thinking in my mind was, that shouldn't have happened. But to my relief, my boss and viewers seemed to understand why I did. This was especially so when we were covering in northeast Wisconsin a serial killer that raped and murdered little girls who were the same age as our son. And my wife and our son will tell you that during those 3 years, there were many, many days that I came home and I was mentally and physically drained. But in the end, in 1994, when David Spanbauer was finally caught, convicted, and sentenced, I could sit back and look at the stories that I had written and feel, you know what, I did okay on those. One of my photographers, Steve Cady, wondered out loud, how many stories do you think you've written about that guy? So we did a search, staggering 197 stories. But for me to get an award for any of those, no, that just to me didn't seem proper. Yet when it was publicly announced in November that I would be the recipient of a Silver Circle Award, I got to be honest, I was flattered and I was honored. I shouldn't say was, I am. This is an entirely different type of award, and I'm incredibly humbled that so many wrote, said, and told me that what you're getting is richly deserved. But honestly, the credit doesn't go to me. That belongs to Nana. Nana, this is for you. Thank you. Over here. Jerry Burke. Our next honoree is retired manager of program production at Milwaukee PBS, Raul Galvan. Born in Havana, Cuba, Raul came to the U.S. when he was 10 years old, and after arriving in Milwaukee, became a prominent member of this area's Cuban-American community. Multi-talented and with a PhD in global history, Raul has not only produced and directed hundreds of programs for public TV and private companies, he's been a positive and productive presence in the nonprofit community, college classrooms, at Brewers, Bucks, and Marquette games, and on the international stage at the Atlanta and Salt Lake City Olympics. 4 years into retirement, he's keeping the door open for yet another legacy-defining project, maybe. Let's learn more about 2025 Silver Circle honoree Raul Galvan.
In a word, I'd say diverse.
Well, I'll tell you what, Raul was the only director I worked with who has a PhD in global history.
He's done so many different things. I mean, me knowing him as a producer, a director, you know, on the sports side when we did sports stuff, he'd assistant direct, he'd font coordinate.
He wrote a book on Cuba. He's taught at local Milwaukee colleges. He's given tours of Cuba. Very interesting guy. I was hired as general manager of Milwaukee Public Television in 2000, and Raul was my first hire. We hired him to be our director of production, executive producer of our local programming. And local programming was very important to the station. It was important to me. It was important to our licensee, MATC. And Raul was the right guy at the right time.
Most days to me he was chill, but there were times when not so much.
Because there's times that Raul, you know, could really give you an earful, you know, if you messed something up.
I say Raul was chill, but he did have his standards, you know, whether you agreed with them or not. And so particularly the young students who might have been scolded a little bit.
What the f are you doing? And
I think he meant well, but they probably didn't see him as chill too often, but I did.
You know, he'd question, you know, your motivation, if you're paying attention or whatever. Mm-hmm.
A word I would use to describe Raul, inquisitive. When we put together local productions, he would always quiz the producers and directors, talk with them about how they could make the programs better. He would talk with me about whether we should even be doing some programs.
Raul actually started 1036 along with myself. That's our news magazine program, and so he directed that show from the very first show until the day he retired.
That'll do it for this edition of 1036. But before we go, we want to wish our director in the control room a happy retirement. Raul Galvan has been with Milwaukee PBS for 29 years and directed this show from the very start. Muchas gracias, Raul, and much love from all of us here at 1036.
Nice. Nice. Raul and I used to talk about, and we still do every once in a while, the theory on how to shoot sports.
We didn't always agree, but I respected his opinion greatly, and I think he respected mine as well.
We've done thousands and thousands of shows together. So I first met him back when I was a student, and still, whenever I have a chance to work with him, it's always good.
We got along very well, and I've always appreciated his friendship. I am so happy that the Milwaukee broadcasting community is honoring him, and congratulations to him. Congratulations to Becky as well. And be well, my friend. Congratulations again. We'll see you soon.
Raul and I had a great working relationship for the most part, and we became good friends. And I just want to say congratulations, Raul, and welcome to the circle.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Raul Galvan.
Thank you, everybody. Mark, Rebecca, and everyone who came from near and far. I'm humbled. I've seen faces here that I haven't seen in a few years. And, of course, to the Academy and whoever nominated me. I congratulate my fellow nominees and thank Jason Pinkowski and the folks at Milwaukee PBS for putting together that retrospective. In March of 1973, George Coppola, the program manager at the CBS affiliate in Rock Island, Illinois, toured me around the station, and every Friday thereafter I called him until I think he hired me in June just to stop getting my phone calls. I think I started there, worked for 2 years on the Wednesday through Sunday shift, along with my virtual colleagues, Dan Rather, Bob Schieffer, the Cal Brothers, and Connie Chung. Then 50 years ago, 50, I stepped foot at channels 10 and 36 down the street to begin my career in public TV. I barely knew what public TV was, but I knew the station had a remote truck, and I knew I wanted to be in it directing, and Otto Schlake, the GM, hired me. Next thing I knew, I was producing and directing all kinds of programs in Spanish and in English. During those first 9 years at the station, I first met many of you, and if you were a student on one of my crews, I apologize again. After my first 9 years at public TV, I resigned, but little did I know that I'd be back 18 years later at the now Milwaukee PBS as the manager of program production. Thank you to Alice Bromberg, who you saw in the video, who hired me and warned me that I wouldn't be welcomed back by some people at the station. Oof. I'm happy to say, however, that I enjoyed my last 20 years tremendously, in part because of my colleague, Damir Bravac, who's sitting over here, and some of the other folks I had worked with the first time around. My best man, Jack Abrams, who isn't here today, Sharon Patterson, Liddy Collins, Bill Werner, Glenn Riley, and newcomer Tai Yang, with whom I shared many immigrant kid experiences with. And also because of some of the very experienced and talented people who I was able to hire, we were able to hire, including Everett Marshburn, Marianne Lazarski, who's here today, Lois Maurer, and you know, I might have still been there today, but we had a chance in administration and, well, I better stop. this is a tight-knit business, and many of the students that we trained at MATC turned out to be colleagues and friends later, like Dwayne. As I ran, and especially as I ran the Bradley Center Video Group and worked freelance. Among them are Dwayne, who you saw there, who is somewhere in Thailand today, his wife Lisa, Chris Lambert, Carol Keller, the late Billy Bai, Corinne, there's a bunch of other people, Mark over here, Carreño. Early on at Channel 10, I had the pleasure to meet Dick Shapiro, who some of you might still remember, later of Trio Video. And to him, I owe a great deal of gratitude. He was my godfather and opened lots of doors in the freelance business. I remember standing on the sidelines at Old County Stadium with the big orange mitts, doing timeout coordinating for Packer games. I remember many days also at County Stadium, including the Brewers' only World Series games, because of Gabe Paul Jr. of the Brewers, who hired me to work on the old video scoreboard. I'm also thankful to Tom Benzel, who gave me the opportunity to run the Bradley Center video operation. And I need to mention my old friend, Lee Fannerstield, whose tech design genius made the Bradley Center video operation a success. While at the Bradley Center, I got a call from Nenad Dakic, a Serb, who opened the doors for me to Olympic broadcasting at the '96 Atlanta Olympics, and likewise much appreciation to my friend Pep Rubias from Spain, who invited me to join his group at the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics in 2002. Most importantly, however, I need to thank the folks at this table over here. My family, my daughters Sarah and Becky, my granddaughters, my grandkids Ian, Eloise, Hudson, and Matilda. And oh yeah, while working at the Bradley Center, I met this lovely woman at a meeting. And after chasing her for 7 years, she finally agreed to marry me. Without her, I would have crashed out. She was a pillar of support throughout my doctorate studies. Throughout the year, I committed us to the German exchange student, and through my last days at Channel 10. Thank you, honey, you're the best. Mark, Rebecca, and the Academy, thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you nominees.
Please welcome Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
Wow, well, good afternoon, everybody. What a really, really incredible opportunity to be here for a moment to honor some of the most esteemed professionals that we have here in Wisconsin's television industry. All of the honorees, many others in this room as well, have dedicated their lives' work to conveying the news and getting information out to communities, not just here in Milwaukee, but literally communities all across the entire state of Wisconsin. Your contributions to the public's knowledge, it really does make a difference. I can tell you that as mayor of this city. It really does make a difference. You've shared joy, you've shared tragedy, you've separated facts from fallacy and enriched the lives of every single person who's had the opportunity to watch your work each and every single day and throughout your careers. Now, we've entered an unusual time in political and public discourse, and pronouncements from top-level officials, doesn't matter if they're local, statewide, or national officials, they require greater scrutiny. And it's important to question that authority, to vet, to verify, and to probe what's said by each and every single one of these officials. Now, that's a role that you all fill, and a tradition you've helped to establish. And I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that that tradition is embraced by all who will follow in the footsteps that you all have marked. Change is a big part of the television business. Everyone here has embraced that reality, and I would anticipate that even greater change will happen in the coming years. But we know, and what we're celebrating today, is that it's people, it's human beings, it's people that make the difference. Smart people, innovative people, caring people will navigate how viewers receive vital information that all of us need to receive on a daily basis. And the insightfulness behind video presentations will continue to be a leading method for viewers to understand not just their local community, but their national community and the world community that surrounds each and every single one of us. So make no mistake, television is essential to convey what we all share as participants in society. The people who provide the content on the screens that we watch, they're critically important. They really, really are. As was said, we trust you. The community trusts you in this room and your colleagues. That's why you're so important. And that's why I'm so pleased to be a part of today's celebration just for a little bit. So thank you all so much for the work that you do. It is really, really public service, not just here in Milwaukee, but throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Our next honoree understands the important role of media in Milwaukee on many levels. WDJT CBS 58 News Director, Jessie Garcia. You see, Jessie was an influencer before it became a thing. While on a road trip with her back in 1995 covering a Wisconsin Badgers bowl game for WTMJ-TV, I remember how flawlessly she nailed live shot after live shot. I was both impressed and inspired. And over the next 30 years, this trailblazer in every sense of the word would go on to not only inspire, but inform, educate, and entertain others as a sportscaster, teacher, leader, and author. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to our colleagues who, like me, are grateful and proud to share a newsroom with 2025 Silver Circle honoree, Jessie Garcia.
Jessie Garcia is a people-focused leader.
A trailblazer. She's a Wisconsin institution.
She's just inspiring to watch the way her mind works when you're in a meeting with her.
She's so talented and so qualified in writing and in reporting and in on-camera work and then also teaching.
She has that little competitive edge, but we can be friendly and be competitors at the same time. She came as a combo news and sports person, and Dennis Krause was sports director at the time, and Dennis was pretty intent on getting her in as soon as possible, and it just kind of took off from there.
I felt like we were part of a super team. You know, like it was Kevin Hunt, Dennis Krause, Jessie Garcia, and myself. And to me, those were just incredible days, incredible storytelling, incredible people that all have gone on to just superstardom in this industry.
No matter what the story was, you know, she would find that interesting little angle. There was no ever, you know, just drive down the middle of the fairway. Every story had to have a little something.
Mike McCarthy gave us a tour of his office here at Lambeau Field. McCarthy savors small moments like this.
Absolutely, that makes your day.
We called it the Jessie twist, so to speak, or whatever. It always had to be just a little bit different, but that's what made it unique, and it made it her.
When I was first talking to Jessie about being news director here, it was just readily apparent that she was the perfect person for this role. And it's just been great to work alongside her and see what she's done with our team.
She believes in a no-jerk newsroom. She is the one that lays down that law. That listen, we're going to respect each other, we're going to listen to each other's opinion, and the place everyone is coming from matters. So as a leader, that's just who she is. She has created a culture here that is unmatched. I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've worked in some really good newsrooms, and I've never worked in a culture like this.
She always encourages us to come up with new ideas. She kind of gets us all invigorated to look for new stories and things like that.
It's just inspiring to see how passionate she is about this business. When I was her student, I didn't know what I was going to get into. Was it going to be TV? Was I going to write for like a newspaper, a magazine? I didn't know what I really wanted to do. She clarified that for me because she's just so passionate about this business, like TV in general.
You could tell she was very invested in her students and their learning, so I definitely learned a lot from her. She was passionate about what she was doing. She really was excited to share with her students.
I always heard her voice in my head throughout my career with different things she would say, like, make it visual. And there were just so many little things that she says.
My family is a big book reading family. We literally have the Book of the Month Club, and we're ordering books and then we're passing them around. So it was fun to read Jessie's book because she's good at it. Because of course she is. She's Jessie Garcia. Of course she's good at it. So it's been fun to watch her as a sports reporter. It was fun to watch her as a sports anchor. It's been fun to watch her grow as a newsroom manager. And so, yeah, I mean, it's super fun to watch her as an author. I think the most important thing I can say is I was shocked to find out you weren't already in it. You are a Silver Circle recipient every single day. Congratulations.
You've inspired me for a decade now, and I'm so happy to have come full circle working with you here at CBS 58.
I knew when we started working together 30 years ago that this was probably the path you were going to be on, and here it is. So congratulations to you.
You were a great teacher then, you're a great teacher now.
From that precocious first ever female sportscaster in Milwaukee to running your own newsroom. So proud of you.
Jessie, can't wait for the next 25. Congratulations.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Jessie Garcia.
Oh my gosh, that is the first time I've seen that video, and so that's very emotional. Thank you very much, everybody who participated in the video, and thank you to Jim Collins, who spearheaded the video. I thought I would actually start with, since Jerry mentioned this, I guess I will never forget where I was when I got the call from Mark Zaromsky either. I was visiting my two sons in Minneapolis. I was in the parking lot of the University of Minnesota football stadium, dropping off my son for a pep band thing, and the phone rang. It was like, I don't know, 11 a.m. on a Sunday, and I thought, who's this? And it was Mark Zaromsky telling me that I was being inducted into the Silver Circle, and I was overwhelmed. Thank you, Mark, and thank you everybody who nominated me. When I was a kid, growing up in Madison, I thought I would be one of three things: an actress, a veterinarian, or a journalist. It became apparent very quickly that I did not have a science mind and that I can't act to save my life. Increasingly, I was pulled in a magnetic way to writing and storytelling. I decided I wanted to be a newspaper reporter, and I joined my high school paper. But my Uncle Andy and Aunt Sue both worked at WISC TV in Madison. Andy gave us a tour of WISC. Sue was in the creative services department, and she was making promos about Madison history. I was probably 16 or 17 when she asked me to be in one of those promos to deliver a couple of lines. I remember feeling like TV was magic. Thank you, Andy and Sue, for that first spark. They are both here today. For college, I went to Boston University, majoring in broadcast journalism. I joined the campus newspaper, and I decided to focus on sports. Not because I was a good athlete or that I had a deep sports knowledge. Quite the contrary, in fact. Sports were not a part of my early life in any way. I just liked that they brought a community together and generally made people happy, and that was the kind of thing that I wanted to report on. I also did an internship at a Boston TV station. That internship was not very satisfying. I couldn't even rewind a tape due to union rules. But being in a big city newsroom was more magic to me, and I knew that this would be my career. I came back to Madison and I secured a sports internship at WISC. It was the polar opposite of the Boston experience. Not only could I rewind tapes, but they gave me a camera and sent me out to shoot stories, which I would then write and edit for the anchors. That was also the summer I met my husband, Paul. He was as passionate about journalism as I was. Paul was just out of college and starting his career as a photojournalist at WISC. We were sent to cover the state soccer tournament together, and the rest is history. We got married a few years later. 4 apartments, 2 houses, 5 cats, 1 dog, and most importantly, 2 wonderful sons later, we are still adulting together, and we still watch news like fiends. Paul is here today. I love you. Our 2 sons live in Minneapolis and couldn't make the journey for this event, but they know how precious they are and how big of a role they were and are in my life and my career. But back to pre-kids. I was so fortunate that WISC had a sports reporter job open at the time I was graduating college. Now, lest you think there was any favoritism for my uncle and my aunt, not at all. They had moved on to California and then Chicago already. I begged and pleaded WISC for a chance, and they gave it to me, allowing me to become Wisconsin's first female sports anchor. I wish I could say that the night that I made history by anchoring that first sportscast was more of a fond memory for me, but the truth was I just remember feeling paralyzed with fear. My only other experience was the campus TV station anchoring. WISC was an amazing place to start a career, and I am forever grateful to sportscasters Van Stout and Jeff Lenzen. Van is here today. He taught me how to have fun with sportscasting. There is a small community near Madison called Argyle, and every time Van reported on their wins or losses, he would say that Argyle socked someone or that they were socked by someone. Think about it. Those plays on words stuck with me. This is not to say that there weren't bumps in the road. One night a man called and said he would never watch Channel 3 again because I was a chick and chicks didn't know anything about sports. But I doubled down to prove to everyone that women could talk about sports just as effectively as men. After 2 years at WISC, Paul and I both had the chance to be hired at WTMJ in Milwaukee. Their veteran sportscaster, Hank Stoddard, was retiring, and I knew these would be big shoes to fill. I stayed put there happily for 25 years. People would ask me when I was planning to move on, and I would say, why? I love my job. I was given the chance to host the Mike Holmgren Show, the Mike McCarthy Show, to be a sideline reporter, to travel with the Packers, to cover 3 Super Bowls, and so much more. After 25 years on air, though, I had a desire to teach journalism, write books, and make a documentary. I left television and did all of those things. But then, TV called me back like a magnet again. A management position was open at WTMJ, and I was so honored to be named one of the assistant news directors, where I stayed for 3 years, learning so much about management, a new skill that challenged and excited me. And then Ann Brown, general manager at CBS 58, reached out with the opportunity of a lifetime. The chance to become news director and shape the type of coverage we did in a city I knew and loved was absolutely too good to be true. Ann is a whip-smart businesswoman and never loses sight of the human touch, and she has impacted me so much. My coworkers at CBS 58, some of whom are here today, have been in the trenches with me through countless stories and events. Special shout out to Assistant News Director Tony Capriolo, truly the best. And I'll go a little off script here and say that it's been a couple of weeks of adversity. As the kids say, if you know, you know. But I'm so proud to go through it with all of you. I hear the walk-off music. I'm almost done. TV is the ultimate team sport. We have the chance to document history every single day, and that's both a privilege and an honor. Thank you to my mom and stepdad for instilling in me a love of news and current events. We had the Wisconsin State Journal delivered in the morning and the Capital Times in the afternoon. My parents are incredible, and I am proud to think of them truly as 2 of my best friends, in addition to being parents. They are here as well. I have always believed in the power of TV. I am fascinated by its past, its present, and its future. I have seen us go from tape to tape editing and cameras where you had to carry 5 extra batteries with you to everything we have now. It's mind-blowing. I also believe in the power of stories. Humans have always loved hearing about other humans, going back to cave drawings, and that's what we get to do every day. Last paragraph, I promise. My journey has taken me across decades. It's taken me from on-air to behind the scenes and from sports to news. I have had the absolute gift of being a witness and a recorder of so much history in this state. Through it all, the one constant has been TV. It's still magic in my book. Thank you all for this incredible honor. I will cherish this memory forever. Thank you.
Our next honoree is WITI TV Assistant News Director Brian Graham. Even before I first met Brian, what was it, about 2 hours ago? I knew he was someone I was going to like and respect, not only because we both grew up in small-town Wisconsin, but by how his colleagues described him. Approachable, enthusiastic, disarming, an all-rounder in the newsroom and throughout the station. He wears the Fox 6 logo on his vest with pride and is quick to praise others. Just look at his bio in today's program. It lists 19 people who've been instrumental in his career. 19! Here's Silver Circle class of 2016 inductee, Fox 6 news anchor Ted Perry, with more on 2025 Silver Circle honoree, Brian Graham.
All right, from the top, Calvi's doing the Archbishop, Brett's doing the construction blood drive.
Tuesday has barely begun.
Durante's doing the governor.
And Brian Graham is already deciding the direction of the day.
Bill's in court this morning.
Knowing full well.
All right, reporter friends, you're free to go.
That in this business, the plan and the payoff rarely look alike.
Bill says the dudes haven't gone through yet, so do we have a succession plan?
News, by definition, is not predictable. So why should the gathering, reporting, and production of it ever be?
I do not think the building would run without Brian.
There's a sign outside Brian's door that bears his official title, Assistant News Director. Just one of many roles he's had in his 30 years at WITI. For fun, let's count a few.
Could I just say all of them?
Sports producer.
Wake Up EP.
News content manager.
Operations manager.
Interim news director. I forgot about that one.
The official count, by the way, is 9.
There have been times when he's been here when I didn't know what his job was.
Which makes sense because he's had so many of them. Not so much a sign of his ambition, but of his talents.
Well, for one thing, I don't know that there's anyone in the building at Fox 6 News who knows more about this operation than Brian Graham. I mean, top to bottom.
He does scheduling, technical difficulties, troubleshooting, graphics, tickers.
Planning for a major convention, Packers in the playoffs, the president's coming to town. If it's breaking news, somehow Brian Graham is involved.
And when we need him, he jumps into action. Oh, we're doing a special tomorrow? Oh, in the next hour? And he's like building the special. He's producing it. He's just everything.
And everything he does is with a disarming tone.
Yeah, it's nice.
Brian Graham has this temperament that he can get along with anybody.
He cares about people, the people that we report on, the people in the newsroom.
He's the guy that you can go to and close the door and have a cry. He listens. He is such a people person.
Good evening. Jim Graham along with Brian Graham at the Viroqua Community Arena. Right now, Brian, a little rundown on Viroqua.
Well, Viroqua's had a kind of tough season to date at this point. They're 1-7 on the season.
The love of broadcasting and his genuine decency were culled in western Wisconsin. Raised by a supportive mother and a father who was a local radio legend, Grambo, the youngest of 6, approaches work with the enthusiasm of a small-town mayor putting on a parade, making sure everyone is buying in and chipping in. You can take the kid out of Viroqua, but you can't take Viroqua out of the man.
Because he is so approachable, everybody comes to him with problems. He's got to try to solve everything for everybody.
Was it our feed that was jacked up?
Because he knows so much about everything, because he's done everything, everybody thinks he can solve everything.
Which means he's constantly multitasking, often an electronic device in both hands, making him truly a two-fisted thinker. There are a lot of plates spinning through that brain. Somehow, they never hit the floor, even as he moves through the building like a friendly Irish setter who's had way too much Red Bull.
He'd walk back into editing and see what's going on. He'd go back into engineering. He'd go back into bee control, all that kind of stuff, because he was all over the place. Now, that's also part of his personality. He's, can't sit still for 2 seconds.
Describe his attention span.
What? Squirrel? Yeah. Brian, I'm still here.
And he's still here, which is an amazing comfort to us all.
He is Fox 6. He knows how important our job is. He knows how important Fox 6 is to the community. He is part of every single everything that we do.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Brian Graham.
All right, I'm just officially, I don't know if you need these glasses or not, years old, but why? Leave it to chance. Thanks, Ted, that was amazing. My Milwaukee career started in that middle office in the newsroom at Fox 6, June 1995. I drove down from Eau Claire. My brother-in-law was nice enough to drive me from Madison to Milwaukee, and I interviewed with Steve Olzik for a producer job. Wasn't very fancy at the time. We went to Wendy's for lunch, right? I mean, now we take people to like fancy places. And we got called back for breaking news. And so I find myself at a desk in the newsroom. They drop a Bressers in my lap, which is a list of all the addresses in a place. And we start calling for breaking news and getting phoners on the air. I did that for about an hour and a half. I did get 4 people on the air. But on the way out, Steve said, I think things look really good, we'll let you know. So I started after that. But anyhow, I digress. This real story starts late 1950s. My dad, Jim, who you saw in the story, and thanks, Ted, that was really well said. He moved from Ohio to Viroqua, and if you know me, and a lot of people will call me either Gramble or Viroqua, and you'll see Viroqua's in here a lot, he moved to Viroqua to work at the radio station, and he did everything when he did that. He was a morning DJ. He ran a show called Slim Jim and the Mail Train, where he took music requests by mail. So that's how long ago that was. But through the years, as you heard, I got to anchor sports broadcasts with him and everything, and that has stuck with me for my life. He worked there for more than 50 years, passed away in 2022, but his guidance and his support is with me every day. My mom is here today. Thanks, Mom, for coming, and thanks to my sister for bringing her. Together, they taught me the values of faith, hard work, compassion, and kindness. And I think if you know me, you'll probably see that on any given day. My 5 siblings, we all grew up around the radio station, and we all have careers like that. Mary, Mike, Tim, Kathy, and Sarah are my siblings, in that order. I'm the youngest of 6. 3 of them are here today, and I thank you for coming. My brother, Tim, media analyst, and nationally syndicated columnist and podcaster. My sister Kathy, who was my editor at the UW-Eau Claire student newspaper, The Spectator. And I later was the editor of The Spectator too, as I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And my sister Sarah, who was a longtime DJ in Madison at WOLX in the morning. She was Fletch and Sarah in the morning. She was great. So I thank you for coming. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a sports writer or a sportscaster. But Ted Harris ran the VHS Viroqua High School, not the tape, but we're on VHS. He ran the studio for kids, and they got a set of camcorders and a tape-to-tape editor. And the first time I sat behind that thing, I was hooked. Me and my friends Aaron Harris, Ted's son, and he had the keys to the building, which was great when you were a kid, and Matt Cowden, we took full advantage. Like, my YouTube channel to this day is still filled with sketches, music videos, a lot of Van Halen, and fake Jolly Good commercials. We made a lot of fake Jolly Good commercials for some reason. So that's still stuff that drove me to today. As Zorro can attest, I went to UW-Eau Claire because of Henry Lippold. He was the journalism department at UW-Eau Claire. He was a force of nature. And I might step off the mic to do this, but I remember first journalism class, he would pretend he had the camera on his shoulder, and he had to be 60-ish by then. Sometimes you got to go over here to get the shot. And sometimes you got to get down here and get the shot here. Henry was the greatest. We were all blue golds of the finest stripe. There's a number of them here tonight. I know that Zorro is here. I don't know if she's here, but Julie Beeler's one. But Eau Claire was a great program. I got lucky to get hired at WEAU in Eau Claire. John Hoffman was my first boss. He was great boss. He was also from Viroqua. I didn't know that till I worked there for a year, and then he told me, he's like, oh, I used to work with your dad, thanks. I did middays there with Judy Clark in an amazing business. When I go home, and my mom can attest to this, when I went home in January, Judy is still anchoring the news in Eau Claire 30 years later, and she has not aged a day. Now, like Jesse said, the business has changed. Like the skills I learned at WEAU aren't very useful anymore. Like how to stack carbons when you're typing scripts, how to tape your stuff together in the teleprompter. Yeah, that's not really necessary anymore. Back to 1995, Steve Olsek hired me and Jill Geisler, and they believed in me, and they promoted me into sports, and I had a great team in sports. Tom Pippins, Silver Circle. Tim Van Voren, Silver Circle. Mickey Leach, Silver Circle. Dave Machuda, Silver Circle. Ted Perry worked with us on our specials, Silver Circle. And John Anderson, Packers Hall of Fame. So, he's got the coolest one. I've been a news manager for 20 years. I just want to wrap up by thanking some of the people that I worked with as coworkers and colleagues who've been instrumental in helping me through all of this, and I love you all, and I'm sorry if I forget anybody. Miles Aquino, who was in that center office in the middle of my career, and when my daughter was born, he was the first person I went to see at Fox 6, and I learned from him you always leave a box of Kleenex on the desk, because I shed many tears of joy and exhaustion after a real whirlwind couple of days. And my daughter, my beautiful daughter Olivia, is here today. Mark Vittorio, Jim Wilson, John Laporte, Carrie Doctor, Andy Conkle, Kelly Stoop, and of course my current management friends. Thank you for putting up with my stories about Viroqua, my corny jokes, my short attention span, and just telling you tales about the good old days of TV news and Viroqua. So. Thank you so much, everybody.
Please welcome the Director of Safety Education for the James W. Foley Legacy Foundation, Tom Durkin.
Hi, thank you for having me. Diane Foley was supposed to be here right now speaking, and instead you get the backup plan. Diane actually flew in for this, but while she was here, her mom, who's 98 years old, had a fall. She's in the hospital, so she had to return home. So if you could keep her in your thoughts and prayers, that'd be great. On behalf of the Foley Foundation and Diane Foley, I would like to congratulate all the winners, all the awardees, past and present, for the work you do. I also want to reaffirm the commitment the Foley Foundation has to press freedom and to journalism safety. I would like to share one of the new initiatives we have. We're fortunate enough to receive 2 years of funding from the Knight Foundation to create an online self-guided journalism safety toolkit, and we'll be targeting students and instructors, freelancers, and local newsrooms. So some of you in this room might be getting a call from me in the next several months to make sure that we're filling a need that helps journalists remain safe. We realize that it's becoming more and more difficult. There's a lot more vitriol out there, so we want to make sure that journalists have ways to protect themselves both physically and, it's come up today, mentally, because they take on a lot of trauma to get us the news. I will keep this brief. I just want to make sure that you know how important you are, that the people in this room that are bringing us the news keep doing it, that the young students in the back that are thinking about going into this profession, it's a noble profession, it's a needed profession. We need you now more than ever. So please, please, please keep doing the great work that you do. And I will wrap it up there. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the work you do. And congratulations again to all the awardees. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and many thanks to Diane for keeping her son's mission alive of inspiring moral courage one person at a time. Words written on this bookmarker that she gave me last summer when we were doing a story together on the James E. Foley Archives opening here at Marquette University. Tom, you were there as well. I keep this on my desk every day. It's very inspiring. Our next Silver Circle honoree is retired distinguished teaching professor at the UW-Madison School of Journalism and Mass Communication, Pat Hastings. Some of the best journalism and professors are people who, for example, have stacked a newscast, written copy, delivered news on radio and TV. Pat did all of that and more before transitioning to the classroom to share her knowledge and experiences with future broadcast journalists. While speaking to one of her classes a few years ago, I couldn't help but notice just how engaged and genuinely enthused her students were. Some of them you'll see in this video, expressing congratulations and sincere gratitude with big smiles, applause, and even, yes, fist pumps for 2025 Silver Circle honoree, Pat Hastings.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story of Pat Hastings.
Pat's the bomb.
Tremendous heart.
Instrumental to me in my career.
Someone I am so incredibly thankful to have been able to meet and experience the joy of working with every single day.
Pat Hastings, the journalist.
She just loves this craft. She eats, breathes, sleeps journalism.
She was the producer.
It's such a privilege to have learned from her. Pat, you are so deserving of this award.
She taught, she mentored, she made a difference every day of her career and of her life. Congratulations, Pat.
Pat Hastings, the teacher.
What makes Pat so unique to so many of us is that she was the building block for so many of us in the journalism field. She was the one who encouraged me to step outside of my comfort zone when I was graduating college and decided to take that first job in a small market, and now I'm living out my dream because of it.
Yes! Yeah, see? That is our Pat. That's our Pat. Yes, that's our Pat.
Pat Hastings was easily the most influential person in my college career. I met her at UW-Madison. I had multiple semesters with her. She was very much the professor that would give it to you straight. She would tell you if your projects needed work, if your ideas were not thought out well, and she had high expectations. She was easily the best mentor I've ever had.
She was not only an incredible and encouraging teacher and mentor to all of her students, but she guided us through some of the most challenging aspects of our academic careers, deciding how we wanted to tell stories and finding good stories to tell.
She's always been a great mentor to me, and she's just an incredible person, a very talented producer and journalist, and oh my gosh, I gotta say, thank you, Pat, for everything you've done. I would not be here if it weren't for you.
Pat Hastings, one heck of a human being.
Pat is full of non-stop energy. It's all the energy that I envisioned she ever had in a newsroom, she translated right into her classroom.
I was not at all surprised to hear that she had earned this amazing honor. And I don't say that she received it, I say that she earned it, because Pat puts blood, sweat, and tears into everything that she does, whether it's a freelance job, teaching a room full of students, or in her own journalism career. And that is well worthy of recognition.
Pat, I'm so excited for you. Through the years, you've not just been a mentor and a friend to me, but I know now as I have hired other students of yours that you're the real deal. I think to have those kind of touches throughout your career, that's something to be proud of. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think the common thread for all of us is that you said, hey, you've got this, you can do it.
Yes, you did, Pat Hastings. And you did it for us. Thank you.
First my allergies, now it's dusty in this place. What the hell is going on? I gotta talk to the janitor or something.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Pat Hastings.
Giddy up. Wow. What a nice tribute. I paid everybody to do that, so it had to be good. This is such an honor. Thank you so much. For someone who speaks for a living, I'm kind of a mess right now, and part of that is because I saw all the wonderful people I've worked with through the years, whether it was in education or the multiple newsrooms, and actually everybody out here should be up here with me because I really owe it all to most of the people in this room and beyond. I have a Mark Zaromsky story. It's clean. When Mark called and told me that I was being nominated for the Silver Circle, I said to him, how did that happen? And then I thought I misheard it. I thought it was the Silver Alert. I did. Or another, could you please be on another committee? Oh, yeah, sure. But seriously, everybody in this room, again, should be up here and helping for me to accept this because I owe it all to you. I owe it from the very beginning, from college all the way through, and in through the university environment. It allowed me to take my media background and give it to younger people. As a student, my college advisor, the great Henry Lippold up at Eau Claire, strongly suggested I should work in radio news. PH, you gotta work in news. Okay. And I did, and it was great. I was a full-time anchor, and I was a full-time reporter, and my poli-sci teacher said, oh, wow, I listened to you on the news yesterday. Pretty heady stuff for a 21-year-old. And then he would follow up by saying, but maybe you should spend less time in the newsroom and more on your paper. Those people in newsrooms like Channel 5 in Green Bay helped me to succeed. I learned one-man bands with heavy cameras and heavy recorders, grease-laden tripods, and the glories of 3/4-inch tape, which did you know you can't buy that at Walmart when you leave it at home 40 miles away? I also started the Valley Bureau for Channel 5, and that was really a cool duty. I learned a lot from that, but I lived in terror of one guy who's in this room, Jerry Burke. He knew everything, and I was a cub. I didn't know anything, except how to take a B and C cord and make the lamps work. These past news experiences and those who helped along the way are my bridge to the classroom. I now talk to students about those lessons I learned, what to say and not to say, good storytelling, how to cover tough situations, ethics, and how to use your phone to call people versus emailing and waiting 2 to 3 weeks for a response from a news source. And of course, there's the big one, how to use duct tape for all occasions. For me, that's what it's all about. It's about transferring all the things I learned and all the hard lessons to younger people, and hopefully they won't make the same mistakes I will. And one of the only beautiful parts of being older is I worked with everybody in the world. So I can also translate to them newsroom culture and what's expected on the job and things like that. My students at several universities, some are here today from a time I spent at UW-Milwaukee as well as UW-Madison, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach. It's my thing. I think it was what I was meant to do. They've won lots of awards and honors, and I didn't do that, they did. So now the thank yous. I'd like to thank the Academy. I've always wanted to say that. Whoops. I want to thank my partner, Phil, who's home watching on the stream because he's really sick, and he's the only one who watches any news product with me because I critique it incessantly, and there are some words we don't say. I want to thank my folks, my mom's here, and my brother, and of course my late father, Jack. All of these people have helped me in my career, and they've taught me good values and taught me that helping people is really an important thing. I'm going to say congratulations to my fellow nominees, some of whom I've worked with in the past. Jerry Huffman, who produced the wonderful video, Carol Larson, who was the golden voice of Pat the journalist, and of course the Channel 15 crowd, Jess Leszewski, who donated her staff, Kurt Lenz, for the video. I want to thank my UW-Madison colleagues who gave me so many opportunities to teach new broadcast classes. As technology changed, I would adapt to that, and I think that's really important. If you're going to teach, at least keep your hands in the game. So I learned from all of you, no matter who you are and where you are. I thank you. You should be up here too. And you gave me the chance to grow and bring those experiences to younger people, and I thank you all for that. Thank you.
Up next is WISN-TV Chief Photojournalist, Jason Hunter. If you haven't read it in his bio yet, what stands out is Jason's desire to create memorable stories, the adventure and thrill that he gets from news gathering, and something most journalists can relate to, that this profession is a good fit for, as Jason noted, someone who's not proficient in math. You'll also notice that accepting an award is nothing new for Jason. Yet all the hardware that he's collected has not diminished his hunger and humility. In a Facebook post accepting an Emmy Award with Jason a year ago, last year's Silver Circle Awards MC, Joyce Garbasiak, wrote, "Jason pours his heart and soul into every project he works on." Here's 2025 Silver Circle honoree, Jason Hunter.
So I really think like this period of time that I've worked has probably been the most change in technology, in what we use. I mean, when I started, we were shooting with a camera and a deck with 3/4-inch tape, and the only way to edit was tape to tape, basically straight cuts, really simple editing. Went to school at UW-Oshkosh. My original plan was to be a business major and move back home and work for the car dealership that my dad owned. And then I had my first like big math class, and that wasn't for me. My first internship was at WLUK in Green Bay. I did it. I worked in the sports department.
There hasn't been a playoff game here at Lambeau Field since 1983.
Yeah, so during the time at LUK, I was working part-time there, and I was actually working part-time in Rhinelander at the NBC station.
The renovation of the old fire tower here in Mountain means a lot of things to a lot of people.
It was a really good learning experience because I had to do it all, and I was doing on-air stuff, which was originally my goal, but I had to do it all. So I was shooting, I was editing, and reporting all at the same time. This business has been great for my entire career, but I also met my wife in this business, so the rest is history, I guess you could say. And it's nice to have a spouse who understands that, and having worked in, both of us worked in the business, you know, she understands that. We moved together to Phoenix, and it was great. Did a lot of time in the chopper, and that was like nose-mounted helicopter cameras. It was slide the door open, camera on the shoulder, shooting out of the helicopter.
Each capable of carrying more than 1,000 gallons of slurry.
Which was scary at times because you're harnessed in and everything, but it was pretty cool. So I transferred from there back to Milwaukee and worked at Channel 6 for 6 months, and then ended up here at Channel 12. Yeah, it's been a long time, a lot of stories, and working with a lot of great people.
Can't dig under the fence either. This is the part that's going to go underground.
Mike Miller and I got sent to Yuma, Arizona to do this special project where there were Wisconsin National Guard members that were building a fence along the U.S.-Mexico border. And we ended up near a riverbank.
We also got dramatic footage of federal agents not only capturing a pair of young men in thick brush right along the river.
There were some people coming up the river in inner tube. The water was really, really cold. And one of the guys coming up got hypothermic. And they brought in paramedics to work on this guy. And we're in the thick brush, and I'm right there. Oh, extreme weather's the worst. I mean, your gear malfunctions, it takes you 5 times longer to do what in normal weather would just be quick.
Watch what happens when you walk out here.
Covered a hurricane. Mark Baden and I went to Hurricane Rita in Beaumont, Texas. Mark and I rode out a hurricane in the front seat of a rental car.
The winds continue to pick up.
Telling people stories. I mean, that's why I do this job. Because we get an opportunity to give a voice to the voiceless. To be able to do that is an honor. And I work with a bunch of great people. Our staff photographers is among the best that I've ever seen. And there's another generation that's coming up. And if I'm not here, and if the guys that I work with and have worked with for a long time aren't here to pass what we know down to that next generation of people who are coming in to do this job, who knows where we end up. You know what? Looking back on the days when I was reporting in Rhinelander, fresh out of college, I look at that now and I'm like, you know what? I wasn't that bad.
Just let her go. I'll just say something, I don't know. Leap Fest was quite the time. Skydiving is a great sport.
Really? Some of that stuff is pretty good.
For TV 12 News, I'm Jason Hunter.
It's mostly feature stories because that was sort of my beat. But it was pretty decent stuff.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Jason Hunter.
Bob and Renee, Bob Palmer, Renee Raffelli, thank you for putting that together. That is certainly more of me than anyone needs to see. I probably shouldn't even have to give this speech, but I will. Just congratulations to all of my other inductees. What a great group of you who has contributed so much to our profession. I wouldn't be here today without the support of so many great people. First of all, I'd like to thank God for blessing me with the life I've been given. For my parents who are no longer with us, but I know they're looking down proud on the son they raised. Sorry. Thank you to my wife, Carol, for literally everything she does for me and our family. To my kids, Caitlin and Jackson, I'm so proud of you guys, and thanks for putting up with me working odd hours and missing events and things because of work. To my in-laws, John and Nancy Claybaugh, thanks for being there for us, for hosting the family on Thanksgiving when I can't be there because I'm working, and everything you guys do. To my fellow group of news managers at WISN, Matt, Jessica, Renee, you guys are the best. And I'm proud to be up here representing our group. And also, to many of you in this room, former coworkers, colleagues from other stations that I've worked alongside with in the field for years. Even though some of us are on competing teams, we're all part of team journalism. What we do is important to the greater good of our community and to our country as a whole. Holding the powerful accountable, giving a voice to the voiceless, and affecting positive change in our communities. The job of photojournalists is to capture moments in time and take our viewers there. to tell someone's story through our pictures and sound, to collaborate with reporters and producers to bring those stories to life. No one does this job on their own. Every day it's a team effort. I've had the opportunity to work with some really great people over the years. A lot of you are in this room today. And you've all shown me what it means to be a true journalist. Many of you also Silver Circle members, and that's why it's such an honor for me to be inducted into this Silver Circle. I've had a remarkable career, 3 decades in television, and I've seen so many stories, covered so many events that it's nearly impossible to remember them all. This job has allowed me to have a front row seat to history. A little backstory on what you saw in the video. In 1994, while I was working as a reporter, photographer at WJF and JFW in Rhinelander, I was at a crossroads in my career path. I was offered a position as the news director at the radio station in my hometown, which I wasn't completely interested in because the part of the job that I liked the most was the shooting and the editing. One of my coworkers got a phone call from a former classmate who was working at WMTV in Madison, saying that they had a photojournalism position open. That coworker, Lance Allen, wasn't interested and passed it along to me. And I ended up getting the job. Lance's college classmate who called him is now my wife. So not only did the call set me up for a great career, but also with the greatest partner a guy could ask for. Carol, thanks for making that call, and Lance, thanks for passing on a great opportunity. To every reporter, anchor, producer, engineer, manager, and fellow photojournalist I've ever worked with, and there are too many to name, thank you for being a part of my journey to the Silver Circle, and I'm honored to be a part of this group. And I'm 30 seconds under on time. Wherever Mark is, thank you.
Please welcome the President and CEO of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, Michelle Vetterkind.
On behalf of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, I'm honored to be standing here today, proudly representing a membership comprised of more than 95% of all the television and radio stations licensed to the state of Wisconsin. And I'd like to say congratulations to all of the Silver Circle honorees recognized today. At our recent WBA State Legislative Day, where Wisconsin's broadcasters covered the Capitol, and as we prepare for our annual WBA DC trip, we focus on the fact that Wisconsin's broadcasters are an integral part of their local communities and offer unparalleled public service. Wisconsin stations provide local news, weather, entertainment, and of course, emergency alert information that is unmatched by any other community resource. No other industry serves their communities to this level. Those of you in this room know this because you live it. It's a part of your soul, and for that, I say thank you. I'm also proud and honored to be able to share some very exciting and timely news with you here today. The newly established Boyd Hubert Education Debt Assistance Grant and Excellence in Broadcast Writing Competition seeks to recognize our dear friend Boyd Hubert for all the broadcast journalists he's inspired throughout his career and those aspiring journalists who are still making their way. Applications for this grant for broadcast journalists will be accepted starting March 1st. The $2,000 grant is aimed at helping post-secondary school graduates working in broadcast journalism with their educational debt. The broadcast writing competition is a part of our WBA Student Awards for Excellence and establishes cash prizes for the news writing categories. The awards will be presented at our WBA Student Forum at Lambeau Field coming up on February 22nd. Please join us if you can. It's It's going to be fun. You can support these important efforts and our friend Boyd by making a contribution to the fund in his name that supports the grant and the competition. You can find more information by going to page 16 in your program booklet, and you can also visit our WBA Foundation website. Again, I thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm humbled and most grateful to be able to celebrate with you. Be proud of what you do. Keep fighting this good and oh so important fight, knowing that what you do truly, truly does make a difference. Thank you.
And we thank you, Michelle. Speaking of contributions to Wisconsin broadcasting, our next honoree has made many. Operations Manager at Sinclair Broadcasting Company's Milwaukee Master Control Hub, Paul Rudolph. More than 4 decades in this industry, Paul has had a front row seat to the rapid advancements in TV technology. Not only a doer and leader, his colleagues will tell you, Paul is a lifelong learner, eager to embrace change with a steady hand, and share that knowledge with teammates from Milwaukee to Madison, Green Bay, and St. Paul. Let's hear from some of them about 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Paul Rudolph.
I just go to Paul and I know that he's going to make it better.
It was a whole different workflow, you know, and Paul was really instrumental in getting that together.
He made my life so much simpler, you know, knowing that he's there.
I've had the pleasure of working with Paul Rudolph for well over 2 decades, and when I think of someone who truly understands every aspect of television, Paul certainly comes to mind.
His ability to work with people throughout the industry, work with people in the community, is something that's really, it's been something that's really stayed with me.
If you work with him long enough, you're going to hear the phrase, "This too shall pass." And he just always has that centering, steady, stable force in the office.
He displayed a confidence in me that I didn't have in myself yet, so I had to try to fill the shoes that what he saw in me, I had to also see in myself.
Whether it's in the field, in the office, or he's hitting majestic dingers in the media softball league, he just leaves an impression.
You would see opposing players tighten up, got a little scared when they saw a big slugger like that come up to the plate. Paul knew who he was playing against for most of the time and made sure that he just hit it well over everybody's head instead of shooting it through the infield at anybody.
I get here first week, oh, we're doing live high school football games. All right, let me go see that. Paul's in that truck, helping running that thing. So he is the man for all seasons, the man who can do anything, and he's done it all in his 38 plus years in the broadcasting industry here in Milwaukee.
You see him light up the most when he's talking, sharing stories about his family, which he loves so much. And also, he's a big nerd who spends a lot of time in the forums learning new things. You can ask him a question and be done with a problem, and he'll come back days later because he's continued to research it.
When the flood hit, our station was like 3 feet underwater. You know, it was kind of all hands on deck, and I remember just seeing how dedicated you were, you know, in that craziness.
From day one, you've been the same down-to-earth, even-keeled, dog-loving individual, and your dedication and passion have always shown through.
Thanks for helping me when I was just starting off in my career and helping me grow with your guidance and everything you've done for me.
You deserve this honor more than anybody I know for all your years of hard work and dedication. I just want to say congratulations again, and I hope I still have a few more years left to work with you at the station.
Congratulations on this well-earned honor, my friend.
You're an inspiration to us all, and especially to those who follow in your footsteps. Bravo, Paul, bravo.
When I became supervisor, I kind of looked to you for inspiration.
While some may view what you do as work, I say you're simply having fun. So Mr. Paul Rudolph, may you continue to have fun on your journey for as long as you like. The world is yours. Congrats and enjoy.
Thank you for 18 years of being a great coworker, a great teammate on the field, and just a great all-around guy. Congratulations on your Silver Circle Award, and best to you, bud.
Everything you do for all of us here at the station does not go unrecognized, and I'm happy to see you being recognized by your peers and everybody in the Milwaukee area.
We are so proud of you. You are truly a professional on just about every level you could actually be on. And really, from a general manager's perspective at a television station, you're the reason why I can sleep so much better at night, knowing that you're in charge of our operations and knowing that we're going to be on the air and running everything correctly. So just wanted to thank you again. You deserve it, and we're just thrilled to have you here.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Paul Rudolph.
Wow. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. Congratulations to the other honorees. I'm deeply honored to receive this, and I want to thank the Academy. I think you're going to hear a little bit of a recurrent theme here. It was a Monday morning, and I was in my office going through weekend operator reports for our master control hub. My phone rang. The caller ID read Marquette University. I thought, who do I know at Marquette? No one really came to mind, but something told me I should pick it up. I said, hello, this is Paul. The voice on the other end said, hi, Paul. Not sure if you remember me. This is Mark Zaromsky. I said, hi, Mark. Of course I remember you. Mark was the news producer at Channel 6 early in my career when I worked there. I said, I was there that election night when you stabbed yourself in the forehead with a pencil. Mark's response was, geez, will that story never die? Anyway, he informed me that I had been nominated for the Silver Circle Award. I'm not sure if I spoke right away, but I was really taken by surprise. I thought, me? I haven't done anything special. Do I deserve this? I actually asked him, I said, has anybody ever turned this down? I thought about it. Obviously, I accepted. He asked that I not tell anyone until the nominations were made public a few weeks later. Other than my wife, no one else knew about it. Man, did I go through a range of emotions. Happy, proud, scared. I think I learned a new word, imposter syndrome. It started to creep in. I was really doubting if I deserved it. Well, the announcements finally came out. People at the station were starting to congratulate me, and I felt a little uncomfortable with the praise. Denise Calloway was in the building taping a public affairs show. So I stopped in the studio to say hello, and she offered her congratulations. I thanked her and told her about the roller coaster of feelings that I was going through. And being a Silver Circle recipient herself, she understood. I relate a story that I remembered back when when I heard that Jim Paschke was inducted back in 2013, how I thought to myself how deserving Jim was receiving the Silver Circle honor. And she said, you know, when your name came up for nomination, people said the same thing about you. That's when it finally sank in. It was about how others saw me and the work I've done, not about how I saw myself. This recognition is not just about my work, but also the incredible support and collaboration of so many people throughout my career. At home, my wife, Kathy, son Shane, daughter Tori, and their spouses, Kirsten and Michael. Your love, patience, and support make this possible. I express my heartfelt gratitude to the rest of my family and friends for their support throughout the years. Professionally, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different people, nearly 20 general managers alone. I heard an ooh. Thanks to everyone from the various departments inside our television stations, as well as the advertisers and clients that we've gotten to know over these past 40 years. Special thanks to those who made it here to celebrate with me today. From the station, Chief Engineer Gary Marifke, Operations Supervisor Sam Eng, Creative Service Manager Steve Garshinsky, and WVTV General Manager Rocky Wagenhurst. And finally, I want to thank a man who's been at Channel 18 as long as I have. Actually, I think he beat me by a few months. He's held a few different positions over the years, and he's currently an engineering technician, Milan Maksimovic. This award's not just about a recognition of my work, but a testament to the incredible team and support system I've had throughout my career. Thank you all.
Time now to celebrate an extraordinary career spanning more than 5 decades. We honor Sean O'Flaherty's memory and significant impact to our industry with his induction into the 2025 Gold Circle, the first in Wisconsin to be inducted posthumously, and only the second Gold Circle honoree. Sean leaves behind an immeasurable legacy. As WTMJ TV operations manager, no one knew the station better or cared as deeply about it than Sean. When we were colleagues, if he spotted something I had missed on a story, Sean would call me before my loft shot and matter-of-factly say, "Hello, this is Sean bothering you again." Remember that? And then proceed to help me out. He had my back. He had everyone's back and respect, as we'll see in this touching tribute shared by WTMJ TV reporter James Groh.
Sean O'Flaherty.
And I call him Father O'Flaherty, mainly because he's like the caretaker.
Who needs Google when you have Sean O'Flaherty?
Was just a guy that was so excited about journalism and television.
Sean O'Flaherty, a great coworker, but an even better brother and friend.
We just grew on each other. I don't know how we became such close friends, but we did. And I'm happy we did. I'm grateful we did.
Sean was born in 1949 in New Jersey. Ever since childhood, he was destined to be a journalist.
But he got a camera before our parents had a camera. And he took pictures of, he took 1 trillion billion pictures of me.
He tinkered on TVs, interviewed people, and filmed high school sports as a teenager.
He recorded everything. He did interviews. He did this sort of thing. It was, everything was recorded.
Sean graduated from UW-Madison in 1971 and began a full-time job at TMJ4. He never got another one. Sean spent 53 years working here. He was a reporter.
Dr. Kennan and his 4 female co-defendants turned themselves in voluntarily this morning.
And later transitioned to behind the scenes.
He can probably do every job in the station, from turn on the transmitter to report breaking news.
For his work, Sean received dozens of thank you letters from Milwaukee Public Schools to CNN to the IRS. ESPN even wrote a letter saying they owe him one.
in the pandemic, I don't know how we could have done as much as we did without him.
At the heart of the TMJ4 newsroom, this desk is named after him.
Sitting next to Sean every single night was sitting in the VIP circle. That's what we called it. It was a very big honor to get to sit next to Sean at his desk.
And on June 4th, 2021, his 50th work anniversary, the city of Milwaukee declared it Sean O'Flaherty Day.
Sean did a lot for a lot of people. He helped a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
If you knew Sean, you knew his second love after journalism was Cheez-Its and Mountain Dew.
You're just working your tail off. Sean's still there with a handful of Cheez-Its just to help you get through the hunger crunch.
Later in life, Sean even became a pretty big Swiftie and went to the Taylor Swift movie with friends from TMJ4.
Sean's favorite Taylor Swift song is 22, which is so fitting because he had such a young spirit.
We loved Sean for his dry sense of humor, the communal Cheez-It boxes, and how he selflessly picked up trash outside the station every single night.
We need more Seans, we really do.
His impact on TMJ4 was immeasurable, and how he made us feel will last forever.
What impresses me the most at this point is that he has so many friends who are willing to do so much for him.
Thank you. And I appreciate you. You're a very kind soul.
He did have a very big heart.
Sean died on July 26th, 2024, following a courageous battle against multiple myeloma cancer. He was 74. Even though Sean isn't with us anymore, we carry a little bit of him with us every day.
Accepting Sean's Gold Circle honors is his brother, Dan O'Flaherty.
Thank you very much. Paul said that he was suffering from imposter syndrome. I'm an imposter. I'm Sean's little brother from New Jersey. Unlike you, many of you, I have little direct knowledge of Sean's wonderful accomplishments in Wisconsin. Rather than try to tell you what you already know, I'll start with some background from New Jersey. We lived in Newark, and most Sunday afternoons we took the train to East Orange, where our grandmother and her sister and my mother's sisters lived. That was the first place that Sean watched television, and the first place where we ate something like Cheez-Its. We got our first TV set when Sean was about 7. Our father was opposed to buying a television set because it would rot our minds. Sean, of course, started not only watching, but also tinkering. One Christmas after that, Sean told our parents that he wanted a tape recorder. My father and I set off to Passaic, which was about the only place in New Jersey where you could buy a tape recorder. We had never seen a tape recorder, we had never been to Passaic, and we didn't have a map of Passaic. Eventually, we found the stores, and we bought a Wallensack. Ooh. Sean was delighted. Over the next years, he recorded everything everywhere, including a lot of things I shouldn't have said. He also started being a reporter, giving descriptions of news events and non-events. The blurb in his high school yearbook talks about the tape recorders. From what I can tell, Sean never promoted himself in the ways that children are now taught to promote themselves. I can't imagine him networking for himself. I doubt that he ever had a CV or worried about what it looked like. Rather than seeking accolades, he ran away from them. But Sean was much more than what he didn't do. I came to realize this only later in life, when I heard other people talking about him rather than relying on what he told me himself. Emerson said, the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived well. The stories I've heard convinced me that Sean was indeed useful, honorable, compassionate, and that he made a major difference. Sean could not have accomplished what he did without the broadcasting community, especially the community of TMJ4. Collectively, you were the ones who molded him, and you were the environment in which he thrived. From Sean's family of birth to his family of life, we say thank you for this award. We also say thank you for how you have molded him over 57 years, and for how you cared for him in his last years. And now, because I understand this was what happens at every public event in Wisconsin, I would ask you to join me and TMJ for a Cheez-It salute to Sean.
That's great. Rounding out the class of 2025 is WTMJ anchor Susan Kim. Three decades ago, Milwaukee adopted a marketing campaign that trumpeted the many things that make it genuine. What a fitting landing spot for Susan, who arrived in Milwaukee around the same time. She is the embodiment of the phrase, the person you see on TV is the same in real life. Smart, hardworking, compassionate, and community-centered. I thoroughly enjoyed working with Susan for 2 years, and in this video, watching my former colleagues sing the praises of this truly authentic individual. Here's TMJ4's Steve Shamraz with more on class of 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Susan Kim.
Beautiful afternoon here on South.
It was 1994 when Susan Kim arrived in Milwaukee from, of all places, Alaska.
Well, first of all, she was from Anchorage coming to Milwaukee, which struck us as strange, and very young and very energetic and driven.
She moved here to work as a part-time reporter and part-time on the newsroom's assignment desk.
She was, at the time, I didn't know, but was so nervous that she would miss something on the desk that she did not want to talk to me. So my first impression was not great.
I pulled up my chair behind her as she was writing, and she's like, "What are you doing? Do not stand behind me while I'm writing."
That intense young reporter hit the streets during the heyday of today's TMJ4, covering Super Bowls and the big stories from day one.
We all care about getting it right, and that's why we all gelled as friends.
She wanted to be really good at what she did, and I just remember Susan was like a sponge, just taking everything in.
After a few years, Susan worked her way from the streets to the anchor desk, first in the afternoons with Mike Jacobs.
She was the hardest working person on the staff. It was just amazing, and she had the talent to match that.
You could see that she was really respectful of him, cared what he had to say, and used what he said and applied it, and it made her the anchor that we know today.
Then Susan bought an alarm clock.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. I'm Susan Kim.
Spending 19 years as a constant on the morning shift with a cast of co-anchors.
I knew Susan before I even started working here. I knew of her, I respected her. She was one of the stars here at TMJ4.
Her longest run with Vince Vitrano.
Susan's one of those players who elevates the game for every other player.
It's a commitment to excellence that shone through on the darkest days.
She was a wonderful woman. She was darling, full of life.
And in some of the most joyful moments.
On this home opener of 2009.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
In between all that, Susan found time to make a difference in the lives of young mothers across Southeast Wisconsin.
You've made a big difference in the lives of local families.
Growing the community baby shower from a one-day event into a month-long mission to make sure moms and babies have what they need.
Wisconsin and the world.
In 2022, Susan switched off that 2 a.m. alarm for good.
And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us at TMJ4 News at 4.
Making the move to afternoons after all those years on Dawn Patrol.
I got into this kayak just for you.
She jumped in typical fashion, with both feet.
Everybody gets to see what we already know, is that she's passionate, she's a leader, she wants to get it right, and she's a great mentor to people too.
Back in the field for the big stories and steering the ship alongside her newest co-anchor.
And good afternoon, everyone. We are coming to you live on this beautiful December afternoon.
It's where she remains today, as all of us who have worked with Susan Kim say congratulations on your arrival into the Silver Circle.
You are a good journalist, a mentor to all. You've done a great job for the station, for the community, but the most important thing is that you're a great person.
You are one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. You are a friend. I have so much respect for you, and I care about you so much, and I'm just thrilled that you have this honor today.
We love you. We absolutely love you.
To the moon and back and then some. You know.
Congratulations. Everything that you are being honored for, you deserve.
I was never better at this job than when I was sitting next to you. More than that, I'm grateful for your continued friendship, and I wish you the best.
Please welcome 2025 Silver Circle inductee, Susan Kim.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who worked on that video. I know Clark and Lawrence, of course, Steve Shamraz and James Groh. Thank you. Okay, and I also want to thank Mark, of course, Rebecca, Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for this incredible honor, and really the work you do year-round to nurture journalism in our community. Thank you so much. I want to thank my family, my friends who are like family, my colleagues, my former colleagues, who it's just so great to see everybody in the room today. And I will always remember seeing your beautiful faces here today with us. Just means so much to me. It was nice to see Mike Miller. He was the first person I actually had the honor to anchor with. I had a story about Snoop Dogg that day. And on second reference, I called him Dog. Mike Miller looked at me and said, Dog? The name Silver Circle made me think of this circle of life and the decisions that we all make that make our individual circles. My dad witnessed U.S. and Korean soldiers run through the Korean countryside where he lived as a young boy in the 1950s. He was the only one of his 10 children to make it, or the 10 children in his family, to make it past elementary school. And then college and graduate school are what brought him to the U.S. He then had to save money for 2 years to bring me, my little brother James, and my mom to the US to join him. And I was 3. Sorry, I'm sniffling here. My love for storytelling got me to Alaska as my first real job, and I hopped on small planes to cover the Exxon Valdez oil spill. I covered avalanches and bear attacks. It was incredible, amazing stuff. But my mom, desperate to get me closer to home, wanted to help me with my job search. So she somehow got copies of those big, clunky 3/4-inch videotapes we used back then and mailed them to 3 people: Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, and Peter Jennings. I was mortified. But a copy of that tape to Peter Jennings made its way to Jeff Kiernan at WTMJ-TV in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And here we are today. I'm still here, Jeff. Others in this room also started at TMJ4 in 1994. Kimmy and Kat, I am forever grateful for your friendship and your love and for being my family when I had none here in Wisconsin. This random guy I spotted at a Milwaukee Wave game in 1999 is here today, too. My husband, Patrick. His sister, Sarah, was there as well because she worked for the Wave. Without Patrick, I would not have been able to wake up at 1:30 in the morning for 19 years and raise a family. He always said, "I got you." Our 3 greatest gifts, Madeline, Gabrielle, and Alex, are conquering the world. And his sister, Sarah, is the sister I never had. I love you all. Around the time of that Wave game, a new reporter joined our station. Vince Vitrano and I sometimes reported at night together. Now, Vince did this thing. He had a sign-up sheet for dinner, fried chicken. You put in $1 a piece, so $2, 2 pieces. And he would take that money, run up the street to Popeyes, and get 1 big bucket. It was cheaper that way. I cherish our 16 years together, and I thank you for everything. Working at one station for 3 decades is a gift. When I started, there were no cell phones, internet, or social media. If you needed a phone number, you had to use the white pages. Robert Lowry, Rob, Robbie, Robert, every variation you could think of, we had to look up to get that phone number. No one changed better with the times than Sean O'Flaherty, and we miss him dearly. What stays with me through the decades, though, are the people. The Kenosha mother I sat with as we watched the lethal injection of the man who killed her 9-year-old daughter. The brother of a victim killed in the Azana spa shooting, who turned his pain into action and pushed Congress for change. And a young woman nearly killed by lightning who learned to walk and talk again and later became a mom, a dream she no longer thought was possible. Their kind of strength is remarkable. I met Dorothy through our TMJ4 community baby shower. She dropped off supplies for the baby shower and her chocolate chip zucchini bread for me, and she did that into her 90s. The community baby shower started as an idea. Our viewers and Greg, a young marketing producer, helped make it reality. And today, Greg is the station boss, and we just celebrated our 23rd annual event. My dad couldn't be here today. He is in his 80s now and doing pretty well. I am forever grateful for him and his passion for learning, a passion that brought our family to the U.S. and my circle of life to the Silver Circle today. Thank you all.
Now a message from the Executive Director and CEO of the Radio Television Digital News Association, Dan Shelley.
Hi, everyone. Wisconsin is very special to me. The 11 years I spent at WTMJ in Milwaukee were among the most important and valuable of my career. In large part, that's because of the incredible journalists and broadcasters with whom I worked and whom I continue to hold in high esteem. Big congratulations to Jerry, Jason, Pat, Paul, Brian, and Raul. You served and are serving your communities and the amazing Badger State extraordinarily well. Special congratulations, because I actually had the privilege of working with them for a time, to Jesse Garcia and Susan Kim. Jesse's now a news director working across town, but Susan is still working hard at what I loved to call Radio City, 720 East Capitol Drive in Milwaukee. Both of you are among the many fond memories I have of that very special and historic building. Speaking of which, Sean O'Flaherty. His Gold Circle Award is not only well-deserved, it was hard-earned. Someone working in the same station for 53 years is almost unprecedented now, but for Sean, not one single moment he spent in the WTMJ newsroom was really work. He loved it. In many ways, it not only defined his life, it was his life. The dry wit, the strategic rolling of the eyes. When you got a compliment from Sean, it was something to be treasured because he held others to the extremely high standards and work ethic he set for himself. Many times, someone literally had to pry him out of his seat in the newsroom and send him home so he could get a little rest. He reported, he shot, he edited, he reviewed copy, he wrote copy, all with a stern but respectful eye. He was the conscience of that newsroom. From him emanated the energy and dedication that powered every aspect of the newsroom and empowered the people of southeastern Wisconsin who may not have even known him or even his name, but were better off for his efforts. God rest your kind soul, Sean. To all the honorees, on behalf of the Radio, Television, Digital News Association and the journalists we represent around the world, congratulations again. And thank you for your dedication to making your part of the world a much better place.
Okay, well, time to wrap up and put a bow on what's been an inspiring celebration of achievement. Wasn't this nice? Sure was, wasn't it? We want to give a special shout out to our partners at MUTV and Union Grove High School Broncos Media for their production and live streaming expertise. And because this is a Groundhog Day that's worth reliving over and over again, I invite you to see and share the program once the video is posted on the Chicago Emmy online website. Many thanks to Don Hertz of Marquette for producing our animations and videos for today's ceremony, and a former colleague of mine, Steve Krause, for his engineering talents. Gentlemen, your meticulous attention to detail was on display for all to see and appreciate today. Also, thanks to the talented folks in our production booth, Luke Morrison of Marquette and Silver Circle member Gary Reisted. And I think our Marquette student deserves another special round of applause. This is the third consecutive Silver Circle production for Trin Burgess. She's in the back of the room at the switcher for a final time. By the way, Trin is graduating in the spring, and she's an awesome director. I see a lot of news directors and assistant news directors. Hint, hint. Bravo to members of our Silver Circle Selection Committee as well for your time and thoughtful consideration. Looking ahead, if you know of someone who is deserving of this honor, be sure to submit their nomination. Forms are available on the Chicago and Natus website, chicagoemmyonline.org. And mark it down on your calendar and be sure to join us the first Sunday in February, February 1st, as we induct the class of 2026. Lastly, thank you, distinguished guests and family, friends, and colleagues of our honorees for sharing in this special day. Today's recognition of their lifetime achievement in broadcasting created a memorable experience for all of us here today. All right, I'd like to have the honorees come back on stage for one more time for a picture and a standing ovation for our wonderful inductees, the class of 2025. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for attending the Wisconsin Gold and Silver Circle Honor Ceremony. If you'd like to nominate an honoree, please visit the Silver Circle section of our website, chicagoemmyonline.org. And if you'd like to donate to the Academy Scholarship Fund, go to tinyurl.com/NettisGive. Safe travels, and we hope to see you again next year.